Welcome back to The Right Gun. If you're new to my channel, like, subscribe, and share. Help me grow this channel and the community. Well, today we are going from this boring trigger on the SCT 17 to this awesome trigger. This is an Overwatch Precision Poly Dat Trigger shoe, and it's going to make the weapon look like this. But before we get into it, we're going to make sure that our work area is safe, no ammo anywhere around, visually and physically inspect the weapon multiple times. Now let's start breaking this down. All right, I'm not going to spend much time talking about how you break down the Glock clone. There are billions of videos out there on YouTube where you can learn about this. You can look at these. I've also done a few myself. I hope you check them out. If you watch this, you can figure out how to do it. But I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is the SCT 17 frame. It comes with a really marginal trigger. It looks like a Glock trigger. It's just not as good. And so again, I am replacing the trigger shoe. I do stay away from changing the internals, but that's just me. I don't really like to mess with any of the firing mechanism or the trigger housing. I will replace the trigger bar and the trigger shoe, obviously as we're doing here and as I'm showing you. So I'm speeding up this video a little bit just to get to the good part. There really is no trick to taking this apart. I will say when you're removing the trigger pin, it's a little easier if you take the slide stop lever and kind of wiggle it and pull it towards the rear of the pistol, but that is really the only kind of industry trick that you need to know. All right, you see the whole trigger housing group here, the connector, the trigger bar, and the trigger with the safety shoe itself. Now we're going to remove this. Again, this isn't hard. You just got to take a little bit of time with it. This spring can be bent and damaged, so you want to be a little ginger with that. You just want to make sure you don't damage the spring. So I'm going to drop a card for one of my other videos where I show you what the spring position should look like when you're disassembling or reassembling, adding a new trigger bar. This is imperative because the spring does have to be oriented in a correct position to ensure proper safety and proper firing. All right, now we're opening up the Overwatch Precision Poly Dat Trigger, showing you everything that comes with it. You get a little bit of instructions, you get a sticker, and you get the trigger shoe itself. I should mention also that I did have a spare trigger bar laying around, so that's why you see the trigger bar here. I did not remove a trigger from it. I will do another video where I do show you how to remove a Glock trigger from the trigger bar should you want to reutilize that trigger bar. This was the only kind of hard part, if you will, is aligning the holes on the trigger shoe and the trigger bar. The pin that secures the trigger to the trigger bar was a little snug. As you can see, I had to use a hammer. Sorry about the camera shaking when I was pounding that in. You just kind of have to line it up. It'll get in there, it'll pinch it, and then you just move the trigger bar around. You'll find the slot and then just drive that trigger pin home. Just be careful that you don't bend it or bend it out of shape, but that's about it. As you can see, the pin is completely inserted and the trigger moves freely, rotating on that pin. That's important. All right, a little shout out to my man Tactical Pontoon and his badger snot. We're gonna grease this up, make sure it's nice and smooth. The interaction between the trigger bar and the connector needs to have this lubrication on there to ensure smooth firing. I really like this stuff, so check out my man Tactical Pontoon. Okay, we're going to make sure that all the connecting metal parts are nice and lubricated, and then we are going to put it back together. We're not going to spend much time on this. We're going to speed through this and see what it looks like put together. Again, check out my short video, the 60-second gunsmith, noting the orientation of this spring. When you're looking at the trigger housing group, it should form an S. That's the best way I can describe it. Again, we'll have that link in there. The last piece I'll harp on this trigger housing group is you can see the spring is straight up and down, if you will. It is completely vertical. It is not canted to any side. That will ensure reliable firing and safety. All right, we're going to speed up this reassembly, and then we're going to show you what it looks like. So if you're enjoying the music in the background, that is my son on the guitar. So if anybody wants to sign him to a record deal, contact me through the YouTube site. Thank you very much. All right, using my Glock punch as a slave right here, you will notice that we have the trigger and the slide stop lever inserted. So I am making a channel for that punch to come through, and then I will be pulling rearwards on the slide stop lever to insert that trigger pin. You should hear it snap into place. That slide stop lever should snap up and down. That's how you know you have everything assembled correctly. All right, we're going to reassemble and enjoy. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share.